On May 27th, 1998, I checked into my first submarine. And a few days later, I went through checking in with all of my chain of command. And that culminated with finally me checking in with the executive officer. And full disclosure, my earlier time in the Navy, my first couple of years in the Navy were problematic. There was a little bit of struggle with the transition to the military life. So got in a little bit of trouble when I was in A school. Nothing too dramatic, but I was able to overcome and deal with it. So fast forward to my checking in interview with the executive officer. And being new to the submarine, I was highly intimidated by having a conversation with a lieutenant commander at that time. I was just a mere E2, and walked into his office, kind of sat down, and at that point, every person that you checked in with took your record. They looked over your evals, and just to kind of get a sense of who you were, and then went through some of the policies and procedures, and the overall messaging of the submarine. Well, he took my record and looked over it. A lot of facial expressions. I'm just kind of like, all right. And he looks up and says, normally during the check-in, I give your qualification plan. I talk about the things that you need to focus on, the kind of the big picture, the strategic view of what you're going to be doing here, and the impact that you're ultimately going to make here on this submarine. But for you, it's a little bit different, because the true fact is that your kind doesn't last long here on the submarine. Your kind doesn't last long here on the submarine. You have shown in the past that you are a problem child. You are a problem maker. You're going to stir up issues, and your kind does not last long here. So I'm not going to waste my time doing a check-in interview, because I'm not going to give my time and my energy towards somebody who's not going to be here for very long. And subsequently told me to exit his stateroom. That was my introduction to the submarine force. That was my introduction, to my very first command. My executive officer telling me that your kind doesn't last here long. Now, what didn't he say? He didn't say the behaviors that you showed previously will not be tolerated. He didn't say your actions, you can't duplicate those actions here because that's not what we do. No. He said your kind. Your kind. Not speaking directly to me as an individual, or even considering or asking me what happened, what occurred. No, your kind. What do you think that does to an individual? What do you think when the second in command tells you that your kind doesn't last long here? What do you think that did to my self-worth? What do you think the story was like playing in my head day in and day out? What do you think my demeanor was? Do you think I was joyful? Absolutely not. I spent the first 3 years, 2 or 3 years, on that submarine, pissed off at the world, angry at everything, never fit in, never ever felt safe. There was a study done at Google recently here last year, and where they polled all of their employees, and they asked, out of all the leadership attributes that are available, what is the thing that's most important to you? What does your leader need to bring to the table for you? What is the number one thing? It wasn't honesty, wasn't integrity, wasn't presence. No. It was safety. It was safety. The number one thing, overwhelming by a large percentage, it was safety. And I never, up until probably year 4, felt safe on that submarine. Not physically safe because of the gravity of being on a submarine. No. Bringing who I am as a full person to work. Feeling free to be who I naturally am every single day of my life and bringing that person, to work. Never, ever felt safe. When I looked in the mirror, the person that looked back at me was not accepted in the job that I was doing. So I had to put on a mask. Can you imagine the conflict of the inner turmoil that you have to deal with day in and day out, going to the place that provides your livelihood where you can't even be yourself? What does that do to an individual's self-worth? Your kind is not going to last long here. Now you're kind. The story that I told myself in my head that I will overcome regardless. In spite of, I'll still overcome. But I still hindered my progress because I was pissed off at the world. And I wasn't pissed off so much about what he said more than the story that I told myself was that maybe I don't belong. Because that's what that triggered. It made me question who I was. It made me question what I legitimately brought to the table, and even more so made me question on whether or not I even deserve to be here. Now, I had passed A school, with flying colors. I did everything necessary. Had, one small hiccup, in A school. And I got in trouble, and I paid my penance to society for it, right? But yet and still, you're kind. This is what I was told. And then subsequent to that check-in interview, I had numerous chiefs. Oh, you're the ABM. You're the ABM. Oh, you're the angry black man. I watch my counterparts lose their tempers, get upset, and that gets called passion. But me, if I am in any way elevate my voice, any way get passionate about something, I am the angry black man. I'm the aggressive black man. That's what I'm getting told the entire time. So what is the story that continues to play in my head about how I see myself? Maybe I'm not the best version of myself. Maybe all the things that people are telling me about who they think I am, maybe that's true. You see, sometimes as black men, and this has been my experience, and this is solely, my experience, but I got caught in between several dimensions of lies about who I was. Several dimensions. Because there is a me that I know. There's a me that I know who I am. I know what I'm capable of. But then there's a me that others have projected in their minds even before they meet me. there's a me that people see even before I even interact with them. And that me is shaped by a number of things. That's shaped by the prevalent messaging of the environment. That's shaped by what they have been exposed to. That's shaped by their interactions with others that look like me. So they draw their inferences based on that environment, based on that messaging, based on those interactions, and they draw a conclusion about who I am. But that's not who I am. That's a lie, because unless you interact with an individual and get to know them as a human, guess what? You don't know who they are. But in a position of power, those people can take that information and run with it, because there's no obligation for a legitimate interaction if I already have set forth in my head a conclusion about who I am. And the danger of that is what I experienced early on in my career was the projection of those beliefs about me began to be the story that I told about my own self. Began to be the story that I played over and over and over and over again in my head about who I was and about what I was capable of. Almost to the point where I was almost kicked off the submarine. I almost made our executive officer a prophet. But thankfully, I had, mentors along the way, strong mentors along the way that saw the truth about who I was, peered through and navigated through the cloud of lies that has been projected about myself and what I started to believe about myself, and said, no. That's not who you are. That's not who you are. This person over here, that's who you are. This is a facade. That's not who you are. This is who you are. Because sometimes we need those people, to see the best in us when we don't believe the best about ourselves. Sometimes we need to cling to the positive opinions about ourselves that other people have generated until we can get to the point where we believe the best about ourselves. So I gave more credence, I gave more value and weight to the negative aspects about who I was, when the truth of the matter is that we're all flawed. We're all mistake-ridden. But we deserve to have the best about us believed. We deserve to be seen in the best possible light. But this was my experience. This is what I dealt with coming in. And this is something I've had to navigate through my entire career. Putting on a mask, taking off a mask, putting on a mask, taking off a mask. Because until you can fully take that mask off and throw that joke in the trash, you will always question who you really are. You will always question. There'll always be cracks in your inner foundation. There will always be ways that insecurity lets those things in and begins to erode how you see yourself. So I had to alter the story that I told myself to become to really become the leader that can truly serve others. I had to alter the story that I told myself, and that the start of that story was somebody that was worth being a leader, somebody that was worth being great. Because everything around me was that, your kind is not going to last long here. Sometimes you just have to because you know the truth about yourself. You know the truth about yourself. You know what you're capable of. Because you already have evidence of greatness. You already got evidence of greatness. It's that we spend so much time looking at the negative and listening to the negative that it has it takes up such a big space in our memories. It takes up such a big space in our consciousness. But we have to be intentional on looking back on the things that we've accomplished and what we're truly capable of and the difference that we know that we have the ability to make. Don't allow somebody else to dictate your self-worth because they don't believe that your kind is going to last long. Because their words have no bearing on your truth. I'm just merely sharing my experiences and what I had to deal and some of the things I've had to deal with. And I'll be sharing more stories throughout the month, as I put up these videos. But only started this to help. I started this to share what I've learned, to share what I've gone through, to share what I've experienced, and maybe one person out there is like, I appreciate that, because that's all that matters to me. That's all that matters to me. And I hope that you didn't have to start out. You didn't have to deal with somebody telling that your kind is not going to last long here. Because if you did, you got somebody in me that's going to call out the best in you. Even if it's just me, I'll be your personal encourager. Because you are not your worst thing. You are not your last mistake. You are not what everybody else has negatively tried to project upon you. You are born with a purpose. You are born with greatness inside of you. You were born with genius inside of you. There is a uniqueness in you that no one else on this earth could ever duplicate. And that makes you worthy of honor. And I'm here to honor you. So, just want to say, thanks for listening. And I'll be back next week, Friday, with another one. Unsung Leader. Out.